hear you, but yes, I can.
Oh,
Um, can you hear me now?
yes.
All right. I want to welcome you to Nigeria Freedom Radio. I'm
Hi.
the. Hi. Could you please introduce yourself?
It sounded interesting. Can you hear us again?
Yes, but I can hear you barely. Like I have to put up my phone against my ear.
Ah, okay.
Okay, we can
We,
talk
we
closer here.
yeah, we try to put our mouse as close as to the phone.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
I can hear you if you can. We can roll.
yeah. Sounds great.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
So, do you want to, if you like?
sure. Yeah, and maybe you can introduce yourself after too. My name is Jenny. I'm originally from Hong Kong, and right now I'm here in Detroit with Alex.
Yep, we are married and we're here in Detroit, Michigan, in America.
Yeah.
And we were really intrigued by your topic
Yeah,
of
so
democracy.
yeah, Alex is from the US. I'm from Hong Kong.
Awesome.
How about
My
you?
name is Adamu. My name is,
Uh-huh.
you can call me. I'm originally from Nigeria and I live in Iowa.
Oh,
Oh.
nice. Very nice.
Okay, so do you want to take a shot at the topic? Is
Yes.
democracy good?
Yeah. So actually just to know a little bit of the contour of how we might think, I would like to know more about Nigeria and democracy. So how is the democracy status in the country or its evolution?
Well, that is the thing though. The reason why I I am interested particularly in this topic is because I do not believe in democracy that good. Our democracy has never been good. It will never be good because I do not believe in democracy.
I couldn't hear the first couple of sentences.
Sorry. Can you repeat the last sentence?
Yeah, because it
Yeah,
popped
absolutely.
up. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's weird. I wonder why I can't. Okay, so yeah, so I do not believe in democracy.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, my my take on democracy in Nigeria is bad.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not interested in its evolution. It's bad. Democracy is not good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why do you think democracy is not good?
Okay, well, democracy has nothing to do with the welfare of you and I.
Mm-hmm.
It's just is the imposition of your will, of the will of the majority on the minority.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 people can vote to to do anything, whatever they think is good. If they think you should wear white, that's what they'll vote. And if you are among the minority, for example,
Mm-hmm.
let's say 6 out of 10,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to conform. So that's what democracy is. It's just the imposition of the will of the majority. And that is not good.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think some people start to talk about, particularly like in China, talking about how the United States, yes, you have democracy, and yeah, everybody put it in such high, priority and see it as almost like the best common good of all time. Yet you have Donald Trump, and that's coming out of a democracy system, and a lot of people argue, see, like I told you, democracy may not be as good as you think. What is your take on that, Alex?
I have a romanticized view of democracy because, I mean, me personally, I'm coming from more of a progressive. I'm from California, and let's see. So for me, democracy is more of an ideal thing to strive towards. And I understand what you're saying about how it could be the rule of the majority, but in a sort of a higher society of intellectual thought, if you have a lot of everybody's able to share their ideas, assuming certain things are being taken care of, I think democracy could be very powerful for pushing society into another level of development.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not possible to have a pure democracy, and maybe
And
there
might
are
not
some,
be good, right?
and maybe there are some pitfalls when you see, like what you mentioned, ruling the majority ruling the minority in ways that are unfair,
Mm-hmm.
which in one way the framers of the United States try to counter those pitfalls with more of a republic model, which is essentially trying to temper the mob effect, if you will, of what could happen.
Yeah, one of the really interesting philosophic ideas that I thought it was like thousands of years ago when democracy was still forming, and there was this discussion whether democracy is good. And I think one of the very famous philosophers suggests, like, okay, well, if you are going to, let's say, sail in a boat, right? Would you rather
Mm-hmm.
take the democratic approach to say, oh, majority of people want to do this and that, let's just do it? Or would you rather follow someone who are more experienced when your life is, at stake?
Mm-hmm.
and that is kind of the debate that people have back in the old days, thousands of years ago, and we're still debating that today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's absolutely interesting. So specifically, for example, Alex, what do you think? You said provided some certain things are provided. What in your thought will that be? Roads, hospital, what are those?
Yes, exactly. Like an infrastructure. I think that if democracy can be part of the society, if
Mm-hmm.
let's say we move into a new realm where Facebook is facilitating interconnections, and we're able to voice our educated opinions on things. I think as we evolve, then having some democracy in our society can be very healthy, because especially if people are educated about the issues.
I guess there are certain fundamentals that has to be in place before democracy is a good thing at all, right?
Right. Like if it's being
right. You see, my issue with democracy is the force, and I think maybe people might not realize this, that without democracy, would we actually do a lot of things better? So you mentioned of infrastructure, the cooperation taking society to the next level. I think all of these things are possible without the threat of killing. So basically, Alex, so the reason why I asked you specifically to mention any infrastructure is I was getting to a particular point. And the question is, let's say, for example, if you think, you actually said infrastructure. So let's say road. When the public votes to have road built, this is what it means. The majority votes to have road built, the minority don't. So therefore, the road project passes. What this means is, if I am in the minority and I don't pay for your road and I resist, I'm going to get killed. So basically, your vote is a threat to my life. So, and that is my displeasure with democracy. I think you and I can cooperate without you or me threatening to kill you.
Mm-hmm. See, I don't see necessarily the same line of thinking that you do when it comes to democracy. What I see is the power of a collaborative energy, that when people are coming together to solve maybe a difficult challenge in society, by letting each other voice our concerns and our opinions, assuming that the people who are voicing those concerns are educated about the topic.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of room for misinformation or propaganda or, doing things that could hurt society. But as a whole, I think it's important that there is some sort of community driven feedback or
where you can voice out
yeah.
your opinion
So
or concern.
I think with
So don't you think that's possible without government? Like, for example, now, this thing we are doing, none of us forced us to do that, right?
To do what now?
Yeah.
Well, like this discussion that we are doing now, nobody forced us to do that. So you don't need me to threaten to kill you to do this. You are doing it voluntarily because you think it's important to your own life. So when people value something, they will do it without the threat of force, right?
Well, it seems to me that actually highlight another fundamental that really needs to take place before democracy is there is a basic understanding and agreement on the legal structure in a place where, for example, like you said, the minorities, if they do not agree with certain things, they would actually got penalized or marginalized or killed. Is that something acceptable for the society as a whole, right? To begin with, I think maybe those kind of discussions and agreement has to be made before we can move on to talk about democracy at all.
Yeah, that's a very good kind of theory of how we can solve this. And with human beings, like how many times a day do you change your mind about doing anything? Like even walking, you could decide to walk on your left, maybe decide in a sec, decide to walk on your right. We change our opinion, our judgments all the time. So it's going to be very difficult to predetermine what human beings will do. That would be nice. Absolutely, that would be nice. But it's an interesting proposition.
Yeah, I mean, we all change our mind, and I think that's probably the reason why for thousands of years we have been discussing this same topic.
Absolutely.
And
it's a really good topic.
And I'm actually really curious, what is the what is the background that makes you, or what are the incidents that make you think that democracy may not be a good idea? Like, are there certain situations in your previous history that make you think that way?
Thank you for asking that. I don't know your experience in Hong Kong, but my experience coming to the US, my first negative, and I think one of the game changer for me was we were living in my now former town, and the government gave us basically a day notice to move out, and the 90% of the town was raised down because in Nigeria, government owns the land. So when we came into that particular spot, we bought the land from someone. But the government claimed we didn't buy the land from the government. This will never happen if land doesn't belong to the government. So I think that helped push me into thinking, okay, what could have been done to avoid this? And that kind of led me into really now I am against all forms of government, any kind of government. I think we could do a lot better without the threat of murder, without the threat of violence. So do you guys have any? I know Alex is from California. Do you have any experience from Hong Kong as to why you think democracy is not good or is all positive?
It's a very conflicting sort of subjects in Hong Kong, especially, well, with our background, which is basically used to be, we used to be a British colony, and now it's